Greetings. This is Skylar Saunders seeing what's current. Now, I have to first and foremost say Happy Independence Day to all the Americans and all those Americans at heart around the world. Because you don't have to necessarily be an American to celebrate Independence Day. You could be in North Korea. If you even have an inkling or knowledge of it, of America's past or history, even though it's not taught there and it's banned, and if you're caught reading it, possibly you could be jailed or you could be imprisoned or put to death. You could be in Venezuela and you're trying to get to America through Central America, through Mexico. You could be all around the world. You can be in Africa. You can be in Nigeria and hope for a dream in the United States. Because it's all about the ideas of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You're not guaranteed happiness as you are guaranteed life and liberty. And it took some time for people of a certain color to get that whole statement together. And it's still taking time. Still not finished. That's what's the beautiful part about it. The document, the Declaration of Independence, is the most important political document ever devised in all of human history. It said, no, we're not going to listen to a king. We're not going to bow down to a queen. We're going to be on our own, and you'll see just what we can do with a little bit of time and effort and a little bit of sweat and blood and tears and, the thought equity that we will possess and exhibit. That's what's going to make us special. That's what makes America, a special place. That's what makes it grand and great. That's American exceptionalism that we all possess as Americans, and those Americans in their mind that are struggling and trying. People from Cuba who go on inner tubes and try to, take the 90 miles across the Atlantic Ocean to get to Florida just to become, a waiter or waitress or a bus boy or a bus girl or, it's a beautiful thing because they can work their way up in that position if they want to, or they can become, a writer or a statesman or someone like that and have a beautiful story to tell. How they used to sell magazine subscriptions, or how they used to be a tour guide. I'm talking now about the great Ayn Rand. She was all these things, or both those things. She was all that. She was a tour guide. She did subscriptions. She was a part of the wait staff. She was a genius doing all of this. Just imagine. Just look at your next time you go to the restaurant. Just imagine what this server is going to be one day, possibly. You never know. Go on a tour of a place, and it was just a meaningless job. It meant nothing to her. It was a survival job, just to make ends meet. She was in a women's group. She lived in a women's home, kind of like a WYMCA kind of situation when she was in California. And, she had it in her mind that she was going to be a writer and that she was going to make it in this world, and in America especially. She started writing, scripts for movies. She did it all. She did everything that was extraordinary and wonderful and great because of the United States of America. And she always looked at that. She even claimed in an interview that she would get emotional about, thinking about her placement in America. She did that with Tom Snyder. It took to her when she first came here. She was on a boat and she saw the New York skyline, and she said, I had tears of splendor when she looked at it. It was just so overwhelming that she had such a feeling. She had such a understanding of what she was about to embark on. She didn't know how exactly what would take place, but she knew how and why she would do it. That was the most important thing. That was the key. That's what kept her going. That's what kept her within good stead in her own mind. That she would always project that in her thinking. That she would always be able to say that she was possibly going to do this. It's not impossible. She kept telling that to herself. And she knew. She was, like I said, she was a genius. She revolutionized two forms of study of humanities, literature and philosophy. You know, she completely revolutionized the game in that respect, in that regard. She didn't, take no for an answer. If that cliche even worked any more than her life, no wasn't even close to being in her mind. Nobody was going to stop her. Nobody was going to stand in her way. She lived the lives of her heroes. Her heroes had integrity and honesty and productiveness and rationality, of course, most important. She lived a life with the three cardinal values of reason, purpose, and self-esteem. And she loved this country. She loved America. That's why she came here. She knew that this would be the place, not just because of its purple mountain majesty or the sea, the shining sea, or the, physical attributes. That's fine, and that's great, but that's not the reason why America is great. America is great because of its ideals. America is great because of its thought, because of its foundation, its founding documents. The Constitution is just an expression, a further expression of what the Declaration was supposed to be, but it's still incomplete. It's still not proper in every respect. It still needs to be tweaked and retooled. But for the most part, it's pretty definite. It's pretty on point. But we look at the Declaration of Independence today because that's when July 4th, 1776 really stood for. That's what it really means. Thomas Jefferson drafted this after 86 different takes, really, if you want to use, metaphor for, I guess this would be something that's, incontiguous, but I think, he had in his mind to change it so many times because he wanted to get it just right. And for the most part, he did. If you read it, he's telling the King George, we're not taking it from you anymore. We're not going to bow down. We're not going to succumb. We're not going to be anything else but what we are. And in just a few hundred years, not even 1,000, not 500, not 600, not 2,000, less than 200 years, America became the number one country in the world. About 150 years, actually. The number one country, the wealthiest country, the country with the most diversity, not for diversity's sake, by the way, just because it had the draw. Ellis Island, before that, some people came in on boats. Negroes, they came in on boats. They didn't really, have a choice in the matter a lot of times. People in the fast forward, come on planes because they want to make their lives better. They want to enjoy life. They want to enjoy their spoils, their work, the fruit of their efforts. That's what's so powerful and special about America is the fact that we have the choice and the freedom and the power, and we're spoiled brats. There's fat poor people. What other countries have fat poor people? It's not very many. Usually they're, extended stomachs and real thin arms and legs, and they'll die of malaria in a few days after birth, or a few months, a few years. But not in America. And we have our problems. We don't trip. we do have our issues. We have mass shootings. We have the abortion issue. We have people that still want the evils of affirmative action to still be in place. We have a lot of issues and a lot of hangups. But that document, Declaration of Independence, states clearly that we are all created equal under the law. It doesn't say under the law, but what that means is we're all not equal, politically, but legally. And that's what's so beautiful about, the 4th. We can have fireworks and picnics and barbecues and everything like that because it's a celebration. Memorial Day is a weird time. Memorial Day is strange. The Memorial Day sales and the Memorial Day parades and the Memorial Day picnics and barbecues and cookouts, all that is strange, really, because it's not in tune with what the day actually represents. It actually represents the men and women who have perished in this country on behalf of their own freedom and, by extension, the freedom of all of us in uniform. But July 4th is great. It's my favorite holiday. It's my favorite holiday. And then maybe Thanksgiving and then maybe Christmas. So it goes Christmas number 3, Thanksgiving number 2, and 4th of July number 1. Because it's a celebration of America's birthday. Such a wonderful country, such a great country, not even 300 years old yet, not even 250 years old yet. And it's been able to amass and create and produce and build and make all of the things that we treasure and enjoy. And that's what really is the bottom line on what America means and what July 4th means to all of us. Americans and Americans in their mind. All right, we have to get to the sports/hip hop world. Just trying to transition here. We have Cameron. Cameron is one of my favorite rappers. He's top 10, definitely. Without a doubt. Top 10. He had some words for Chad Ochocinco Johnson, who had words himself saying, he's going to go on the internet and take over the game, just like how Cameron and Murder Mace and Treasure have with their show, It Is What It Is. Now, it got, Cameron doesn't, I don't know what he did. I don't know what he was on or how he didn't, come to the performance with as much zeal and as much, power as Jadakiss did during the versus battle between Dipset and the Locks, which was a monumental battle. Monumental because of Jadakiss's prowess, especially. He was the one that stood out. He was the all-star. He was the, player of the game, I guess you could say, of that whole versus battle. But Cameron seemed, he didn't take it seriously. He was just walking around, he had a few, he was going off of the songs that were played overhead, that were recorded already. But when he comes to this, It Is What It Is stuff, he's grabbing headlines. He took this to the headline, he was talking about this and taking it very seriously. He's saying that you're not going to be able to come for me, Ochocinco. It's not going to happen. We're not going to go into this. We're not going to tussle with this. There's no way you can be better than me in Murder Mace and Treasure. We got this on lock. We just launched and we're doing numbers. Last time I checked, one of his last episodes was 380,000 views. So somebody is definitely watching. So you have, it seems that Cameron has put jumper cables on his nipples and restarted his life. Pause. But he seems to be very passionate and very informed and very, in tune to what he is supposed to be. He's very, has that passion. He's very passionate about his way of addressing the topics that go on during this whole issue. And he's saying, he's using sarcasm. He's saying like Ochocinco can, come on the show and then clean the bathrooms and kitchen after we're done. He's being very ironic and sarcastic. He's going running back and forth with that. But the way Cam always uses humor, even prior to It Is What It Is, when he uses his albums, he has skits, and they're very funny. Very funny stuff. He had everything from SDE, Sports, Drugs, and Entertainment, to Come Home With Me, to Purple Haze. He either has songs that are humorous or has little skits in between that are both. So Cam is no stranger to engaging in the public with his ideals, with his comedic stylings, if I should say. He's one of the few people that can say that he is a part of the hip hop generation where it's like, we can have fun. It never felt to me that Cameron wasn't having fun with his whole situation. It seems that he is destined for this platform to even make it grow bigger. I think that It Is What It Is going to be, a multi-million-dollar, organization, or be on a platform where they're going to be making millions of dollars if they're not making it already. They may have some kind of deal with YouTube. I don't know, but what I do know is Cameron is definitely the super personality. I mean, Treasure is the fact person. She's a lovely lady of color who knows her facts. And Murder Mace is just he's just laying in the cut mainly. He's not saying too much, but he's supposed to be a pastor. I don't know what happened with that, but Cameron, he's not playing around either. He's not making it an issue. He's not performing like he is anything other than himself. And that's what's so beautiful about this hip hop / sports game. He even he grabbed headlines with the Jim Jones and continuity. That's what I was looking for when I was saying about the timing between going back and forth in the future is continuity. I just had to say that. But back to this. Cameron had his words for the Jim Jones and Pusha T beef that's now on flame broiled. He was like, I'm out of this. I'm in sports now. I ain't even in your hip hop stuff no more. I'm cool. And that's what's beautiful about this whole game, because you can be transformative. You can put out albums if you want, but look, you can start your own show. Look what happened to Noriega and Noriega. I can't remember his DJ's name, but especially Noriega, he was a rapper. And he said, you know what? Let's just make this internet show. Come on now, we can do something with this internet. That's what we're all on. That's what this drug is now. That's the new streets, YouTube. And then get millions and millions of views. Have ultimate deals with various corporations. That's the beauty of all this. You can revolutionize your whole style. You can change your whole way of thinking and change your whole way of being just based on who you are and what you're doing and how you do it. You come prepared. You come with your notes. I got mine. Can't see the writing, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so that's where we are right now. We're in a position where we're able to change it. Look at Talib Kweli. Talib Kweli said, man, almost 20 years ago, man, I don't really F with the internet. He said, I don't really mess with the internet. Then fast forward 19 years, he's one of the top, podcasters online. Killer Mike, another example. Another example, being on the internet. Because that's what this thing is. That's what the gorgeousness of the internet is. And Cam fully understands this. Cameron Giles, his government name. Cam understands all this. He knows how to get, the agitation and beef and the process of doing things all the way up. That's astounding. That's great. That's wonderful. That's something that you don't see a lot of times. Besides the examples I just given. Some people just want to stay, I'm going to stay locked down to my albums. Haven't sold wood in 13 years. Haven't gone aluminum, triple aluminum in over 15 years. But you know what? I'm going to still do my albums. And it's like, you know what? Reconsider. Seriously, reconsider. You're going to be doing so much on this internet platform that you don't have to worry about, whether your streams are up or how many people are viewing and on your videos you're making. Just sit up with a screen with a, UGK, Pimp C, rocking power to him, RIP. He said, just cameras and screens, easiest money you can get is the American dream. And he said it true. That was in 2007. 16 years ago. He said that. And that's what's so powerful about all of this. Cameron knew. And Ochocinco, he's very, adamant. He's very, talkative about his position and all of this. He's very noteworthy in a sense because of his time with the Bengals and time and also in the Mexican League and his time with the Patriots. He had a good run. I don't think he won a ring or too many rings. Let me see. How many rings does he have? Let me see. Let me see how many he has. If you are wondering, you can, let me know. He's won 0. He's actually ringless. So this ringless, ignorance, no. But this ringless dude came on the scene trying to challenge Cameron, who's been putting in the work on It Is What It Is. Got the fake, got the hair all, on top of his head. He's not wearing a cap or anything. And Ochocinco is coming after his neck. Whether he's playful or not, I guess he was playful, but even in jest, there is some truth. And Cameron just pounced on it. He didn't take anything off of him. He didn't take anything off of him. Cameron even likened Ochocinco to R. Kelly. He was saying how, you got to be careful when these guys that headbutt their Evelyns. That's a Pusha T line, by the way. You got to be careful. You got to be wary of these cats because they could be doing anything. They'll do anything for, some shine or some a little bit of ratings, But Cam doesn't have to worry about that because It Is What It Is popping. It Is What It Is something that's, more enjoyable than most other, or I say, shows, or other than the shows that are presented on TV, on mainstream ESPN and all the other organizations that have news. And It Is What It Is is a strong tower. It's something that's making the people move because it's making people think at the first part, but it's making people move in their minds. That's what Cam represents. Cam is the star of the show. Cam is definitely the star. He garners the most, attention because of his outspokenness, his brazenness, that Harlem, garishness that Murder Mace has. He could show it too. He has somewhat sort of kind of an idea of what it is to be ahead of the game and in front of the cameras. Mostly, it's all Cameron. It's all Cam. Cam knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's got the idea of what it is to be a person who knows just how to push the right buttons, say the right things, and get away with it. Not get in trouble. Not get in any issue with anyone. That's the power of the word. That's the power of the spoken word. This is just all, beautiful jousting. Ochocinco had an emoji, and I hate emojis. If you know me, I hate emojis. I mean, there's a few that I do. I do salute. I do the thumbs up, stuff like that. It's easy to know. But when you put, just a happy face, okay, I guess you're happy. Or if you put a laughing face with tears coming out of your eyes, what's so funny? What is hilarious? What is the joke? What is funny about what I just said? If I didn't say anything that was funny, especially, please tell me. I need to know. Give me a sign. Give me an outlet. Give me something that is true. But that's another case. So Ochocinco had the emoji of a fencing, partner, a fencing figure. And he took it upon himself to show himself and to speak of himself and authority, like he's going to be taking over the game and he's going to be the best and he's going to, leave it is what it is in the dust. Cameron wasn't having it. Cameron didn't take this line down. He said, you like R. Kelly, dude, you headbutting women, allegedly. I don't know if that's alleged. Maybe it's not alleged. But he said you got to watch out for these dudes. You got to watch out for them because they're unpredictable. They're very unpredictable. That's the power of this internet. It gives you the ability to express yourself with the full knowledge of who you are and what you are doing. That's what they give you. That's how they understand. That's how you understand what is most important in life and what you can do to life, what you can do for life. And Cam has got that in spades. He's got that down pat. He knows how to say the right things in the right way. He's the one that trolled Bill O'Reilly when he was on Fox News. This is going back over a decade ago, almost 2 decades ago. He trolled Bill O'Reilly. He said, you mad. And Cam starts trends. Cam is a trendsetter. He started the pink wave. He started I don't say it anymore, or I've never really said it. He said, no homo. And then he said, pause. Well, that was already in the culture, but he blew it up. He made it popular to say pause. He has a no snitching policy. I disregard that. But he is definitely on the culture. He's definitely within the bounds of knowing what the culture is for and what it can do and where it can go. So with Ochocinco, you got a lot of Splendor to do. You got a lot, you're going to fire back. First, you fired the shot, and Cameron lasered in and shot you in the arm. just to let you know what's going on. He didn't do a headshot. He didn't completely end your career before it even started. But he did do his business with that claim against your name. All right. Another transition. This is something that, a lot of people have been saying, oh, Star or Choice, Mr. Choice Star Terrain. Star's been grooming him, he's been grooming me, to do what, to this show. I tried to switch it up with the collared shirt and the black tie and the trilby, just to distance myself from what Mr. Terrain does in a sense, because I respect him in that way. So I also have content that's different from his, because I do fiction. I write a lot of fiction works, and I would like you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this bit of work that I wrote. It was for a challenge for it was for vocal.media. Excellent site. You have issues. It's not a perfect site, just like the Declaration of Independence isn't perfect. And it's darn near perfect. It's very close to being perfect. Just like the Constitution isn't perfect, money. But we're talking about Declaration today because that's when it was signed July 4th, 1776. Okay, so get ready, get your popcorn, get your soda, get what you got to get, because I'm about to go into this story, and I hope you enjoy it. On 4th of July. All right. Okay, it is called The Scales of Splendor. This War is for Healing, by yours truly, Skylar Saunders. There weren't always dragons in the valley. They had arrived like meteors, right? They plummeted from space in pods in the Chinese year of the dragon 2024. Their place to live on the earth was actually part of the Delaware Valley in Wilmington, Delaware, United States of America. As they awoke across the land, they remained untamed and wild. It took several years for them to be trained and contained. With the power of their fiery breath, they scorched the earth of the tiny state. Yet they carried with them something of value to the Delawareans. Their beauty, their arresting grandeur, lay in their scales. Each of them healed the maladies of humankind. The Costerly clan and the Hess family drew blood against each other over the scales. Yet another battle over preserving the dragons for their own sake, or for the advancement of humanity, the two factions warred without remorse. The former wished to harvest the scales to use and sell on the market, while the Hess wanted to protect the dragons from being hunted down and their scales shredded from their bodies. Gesta Costerly, in regal gold and red attire, sat on the board as CEO of the Wilmington Business Complex. Her husband, co-CEO Knock Costerly, sat next to her but spoke no words during the proceedings. He had no impediments, he just spoke very little. We are all like in this. It is business. Those Hess have no clue what business is. They must be blocked from every angle. We are supposed to take in these dragons not as creatures that just lay around and spit fire. No. We ought to use them for our own ends. Applause throughout the room was like a bomb bursting. At the New York City Council meeting across town, the Hess figureheads, Mother Demings and Father Flinden, traded words. There was no police force or National Guard left in the state after an upheaval no one likes to talk about. All matters came into the hands of civilians, not police officers or soldiers. The U.S. government just provided funding and armament. They are menaced, she said. They're like the black stuff on the sidewalk. They are a worthless lot that must be suppressed, Father Flinden announced. The room offered and inspired. Yes. The dragons in the city have been cut down from about 3,000 to a few hundred. It so happened that when the scales were ripped off, the dragons soon perished. The issue remained that the restorative, healing, and curative powers of the dragons need to be preserved. What we must do, Gesta said, is foster an environment for these dragons to be cared for, nurtured, and bred. If you want to have more paper, you cut down trees. but you also plant more trees to make up for the loss. It's the same with chickens, salmon, or any other organism that suit the needs of humans. We may be having trouble breeding them, but that does not mean we throw up our hands and quit. Within the confines of private property, to hell with those who threaten what is ours. The room kept quiet. No one said a thing, but they all understood. Our fight is not with the dragons. We must battle with the Hests. They have become a terror that is beyond the confines of proper deportment. Spirited applause followed. So we do this. We go to war to fight against not just the Hests, but the idea that nature shouldn't serve man. The reverse is true. These dragons aren't a blessing from God or from the state. They are just here to be a benefit to us. We must never lose sight of that. Thank you. Uproarious applause followed. Not cautiously clapped his hands and leaned over as his wife came in for a kiss. Leola Costerly, Gesta, and Nock's 20-year-old daughter, journeyed to the place where the dragons ate and slept. She had braided hair that ran down her armor-covered back and glistened in the light of the dragon lair. With one look at Jupiter, the youngest dragon in the family, she knew that she could look into the gold glimmering in Jupiter's eye. The breath was like a mix of lilac and mint. Leola ran her fingers down the scales of the creature that was about the size of a minivan. You're our grasp on reality, Leola told Jupiter. Leola had been diagnosed with a rare disease that had a scientific name with 27 characters. It was so rare that it had been called Leola Costerly's disease. The dragons had arrived in time to see that the scales would be used to preserve Leola's life. Jupiter's grandfather had died for her. She grew strength. I want you to know that your forefathers saved my life, and you will save the lives of anyone afflicted with sickness. Shared bombs explode. A battle brewed. Laser-printed anti-tank weapons, rifles and pistols, hand grenades and body armor all became part of the arsenal of the Costerlys used against the Hests to do battle. The strife would keep sides on the edge against the forces that kept them apart. It was a Friday when the wind blew just right for the change to take effect in Newark. The dawn made the sky turn red. It was like a blushing cherub with flecks of purple and blue at the edges of the firmament. The Hests came prepared with their tanks made and abandoned by the local government police. But the Costerlys used anti-tank weaponry. The Costerly leaders met with the Hests. They were about 7 feet apart on the battlefield, with factions of fighters flanking them and behind them. This must continue, Gesta acknowledged. It must. Not Carly finally intoned. Eyes raised at this utterance on both sides. Then we will do this, Deming said. A tank came roaring from the slowly rising sun. A Costerly missile struck the side of it, dismantling the tread. Both sides found respective bunkers on the opposite sides of the landscape. A great flame burst from beneath the wreckage. Bullets flew like lead birds, tearing through vests and flesh. The Costerly's armament allowed for the rifles and machine guns to tear through the government-grade weapons. In reality, their weapons were more advanced than the Hess weapons provided by the state. The firearms the Costerlys used had not been approved by the state and had been better functionality and capabilities. The Hess could only use the weapons issued to them, which lacked in almost every way. During the turmoil, Leola had stayed back in the Costerly home with the dragons. She unleashed Jupiter's father, Aranand. The battle seemed like a surreal painting. Scenes of utter carnage underneath a beautiful sky filled the mind with awe. The power of the rifles on the Costerly side still met with a might that represented a formidable foe. The green grass was stained with blood. The fight kept on churning. Leola adorned herself in battle gear, except her attire held a sapphire, garnet, and gold necklaces amongst her body armor. She donned a helmet of shimmering emeralds and garnets. The clash of one Costerly rifle destroyed 5 people with one shot. Now, the sky was a blaze of azure and yellow. As the blood flowed on both sides, the Costerly and Hess parents looked on from opposite sides in bunkers. The sound of the machine gun was like a snare drum, thrumming a vicious beat. Mortars and small weapons fire allowed for the Costerlys to gain even more ground against the Hess. The rolling of the warriors allowed for the columns to shift. Each and every breath was matched the way for them to fight even harder, smarter. I don't like this, Deming said. She slumped in her barricaded bunker. She held onto a device that tracked the amount of casualties on the house Hess side. Don't become discouraged, dear wife, Flindon Hess said. There's a turn in the fighting. We are like 1,000 rhinos ready to strike, Deming said, straightening. Her face was filled with a delicious glee. She realized the fact that she could continue within her space, safe from the strife. Demi, we ought to just deploy the nuclear bomb, Flindon remarked. Deming shot a glance at her husband, and her eyes glowed. I'd say to do that, but we'd wipe out ourselves at the same time. As the Hess continued to be slaughtered by weapons never used before, but proven to be more capable of defending the user, the Costleys pushed them back. The battle raged into the afternoon, with the sun wheeling overhead. The fighters all gave their strength and resolve in the conflict of a lifetime. What sustained the battle moved each of the leaders of the two families. We must keep our warriors ready for sustaining injuries and deaths. Some of them are fighting for the first time. They are still like babes sprung from the womb, Gester reminded her husband. Yes, it will all be well, not cautiously reassured. Gester peered at the device like the Hess held. It showed her stats on how many had been lost, what the Costly family damaged or destroyed. Each of the fallen has flashed across the screen. Gester's mind reeled. She already prepared her speech to address the families of the fallen. She envisioned wearing colonial blue and buff veils and lifting up the heroes who had fallen on behalf of the costly name. We have sustained the least amount of casualties, but this fight is not over. As we fight, we must remember that it is in the dragons that we must consider. Our lives have been revolutionized by them. Our daughter, her voice cracked. She recovered quickly. I know that we have to defeat the Hess and make them into our allies in regard to the scales. There's a way for us to figure out the best way to defeat our opponents. We must stand with our troops to let them know that what they're doing is righteous. Our Leola, she wouldn't be here without those scales. It's a pity that the collection of the scales leads to the dragon deaths. The Hess haven't a clue. It's complete malice to put the beast before man. They hate humanity, progress, achievement, so they seek to heap their feelings on everyone else. They must be vanquished. Rounds continued to fly in the evening air. The rifle sounded and the incessant explosions rocked the battlefield. So much firepower on behalf of the Costleys attacked the Hess, but only to an extent. The smell of carbon hung in the air, and the warriors continued their advances despite fatigue and injuries. Then something flying in the sky arrested the fighters. They silenced their weapons. They looked up and saw the shimmer of gold, sapphire, garnet, and emerald. Leola graced Aranon over the battlefield. She hovered down between the fighters. Gesta and Nock shocked to their feet. My baby, Gesta said. Nock clutched his wife tighter and caressed her face. Leola circled. We must end this fighting. I am well because a dragon restored my life. If you Hess cannot see that, then damn you for that. Laws ought to be developed in a world where men and dragons can exist. Their powers heal me, and they can do the same for you. I know that we can all benefit from those beautiful creatures. They represent what makes us human. We use our minds to oversee the fauna and flora of these living things on this earth. We are more than stewards. We are rational beings capable of projecting and at the same time utilizing dragons to promote our own lives. My joy rests in the reality that man rules nature, and not the reverse. Let us stop for now and rest on the thought. Villa turned to the Costerlies. The warrior saluted. She smiled at the combatants with a knowing smirk and returned the salute. It was stern, though filled with honor and admiration. To the Hess, who had bowed to the dragon, Viola's scorn burned in their minds like Aranon's flames. She offered a scowl and mannerism of rebuke. Viola instructed Aranon to take to the sky. The dragon responded to the command. In his gold eyes, the fires on the battlefield burned with great intensity. Next, a shot rang out of the field, shattering the brief silence of the weapons. A single drop of blood fell from the sky like a ruby twinkling amongst the fires. Did it strike the young woman warrior? align with the powerful clan, or the beast with the precious plates. That was my story, The Scales of Splendor. Hope you enjoyed it. It's all coconuts on this side. I got 15 minutes left. And I'm just going to talk about, the greatness of storytelling. We tell stories around this time of the year. I'm trying to bookend this. Amongst the fireworks and the different barbecues and cookouts and picnics, and which is not going to be happening most likely too much today in where I am on the East Coast, in Delaware. But we tell stories. We tell ghost stories around the campfires. Probably not too many campfires today. It's been raining. But indoors, we kind of follow lights. We have a flashlight under our chin, and we just launch into a story. And that's what this was about. This was my story that I wrote, trying to win first place. Didn't place anyway, with my story. But I keep going. I keep trying. I keep experimenting. I keep wanting to go forward. I keep thinking about what it means to be, a man of color who happens to live in America, and what that story entails. It's a bloody, dark, nasty, vicious, ugly story, but it's also hopeful, triumphant, strong, and beautiful at the same time. That's what, I have realized about stories. That's how the Bible and the Torah and the Hadith and the Quran have become so gripping in the populace, and how ironic it is that they're the books and the ideas that people flock to, even though they're false, even though they're, at times, detrimental to mental health. But billions of people believe in them. And what are there, maybe 5 million, atheists? And of those 5 million atheists, there may be 200,000 objectivists. If that might, I don't even know the numbers. I don't even know the figures. That was just out of the seat of my pants. But I do know one thing. Stories solidify and create a picture in our minds and an understanding of who we are and what we are about. That's the power of stories. That's why you have Ayn Rand with stories like her novels. We Living, Anthem, The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged. All of these stories represented her mind, represented what she wanted to do with her life, represented everything that could be made possible, because she took the time and the effort to craft these wonderful, gorgeous stories and make them into a reality, in the sense that they were published, making them in the sense that they are alive. The characters are alive, and their attributes and their virtues all stand for something. That's the power of the written word. That's what I just gave you. The Scales of Splendor. And I'm proud of that work. Didn't win, didn't even place, but I'm proud to say that I wrote that in order to get to a point where I can understand who I am and what I am about that very notion, about what it means to be a man who knows what he's doing, a man who knows that he is destined for greatness. I'm not there yet. I'm not great. I'm okay. I'm very good. I'm a C plus, B minus. I'm nowhere near A plus. Nowhere near that. But I will get there. I can assure you that. No matter what I do, if I'm doing these videos, if 0 people want to watch, that's fine. Nobody's watching right now. One person comes in, goes out. One person comes in, goes out. That's fine. But I know the truth. I know the reality of it. I know what's really the substance of what it means to be a creator. Because I create, I do, I make, I build. That's what this country is for. That's what we can boast about. We can talk about how much money we got. But that's not even it. It's the business. It's the minds behind the money that cause us to be so rich and plentiful. It's the CEOs. It's these great men and women who have forged a path to be thinking about what they do and why they do it. That's what's so, wrenching. That's what's so engrossing about what it is that these special / ordinary men and women do. Because they're human beings. I hate that line. I'm only a human being. I'm not perfect. You can be morally perfect. And because you're a human being, you have the capacity to think and act on your ideas. Now, whether those ideas are proper or not isn't something up for question and debate. But for the most part, it's all about making something. That's what this country is about. Not even 250 years old. It'll be 250 in 2025. That's when it will be that age. 2 more years from now. And we have to recognize how we are able to be in this country, and we take it for granted. It's almost a luxury. It's almost like we should take it for granted in a sense. Because if we didn't take it for granted, then we probably wouldn't enjoy the things that give us, We say, I'm up, I'm awake, I'm having a bad day, but look, you have lights on, you have clothes, you have a car that's probably expensive, mid-level expensive car, you have a nice house. These are all matter, but they all came from spirit. The clothes, the car, the house, all that came from spirit. All that came from the mind. That came from thought. The measurements, the mental equity, that the sweat equity that went into crafting these things. That's what makes this country important and necessary and glorious. That's what makes this country the best country of all time. The greatest country of all time. The G code. Now, there have been other countries that can compare. Great Britain, was around and was number 1 for a while. The city of Rome, I guess, they call it a city, but it's really, if you can make the metaphor of America being a city on the hill, I guess you can say it's a country, and that a city is a country, and a country is a city. You say Rome, had its run, but and amongst others, a whole host of others, but nothing like America. Nothing like this great country of America. And I'm saying that as a man of color who knows his position, knows how, vicious and evil, the ideas and the people behind this country can be. But I don't consider that as important. I dust that off. Dust that off my shoulders. What's important is the fact that I'm able to have my own life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's what's so important. That's what so makes this celebration of this country so glorious, so wonderful, so excellent. It's a special occasion that we have right now. That we're able to address this. That we're able to even consider it as a fact that people, men and women of color especially, have been able to foster new ideals, new ways of thinking, new forms of music. Because everything in America, besides, I guess, polka and anything else, is the blues. Blues and country are just, cousins. Blues and jazz are cousins. Rock and roll or its child, hip hop and pop, R&B are its grandchildren. That's what we have to realize now. The soundtrack to America. Like I said earlier, you have Tucker Carlson, totally debased, totally, incompetent in a sense, who goes around and says that he's more attuned to America's beauty, as in the Grand Canyon and the fields of gold and the ocean, sea to sea, from the oceans to the prairies, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. And this land is your land, this land is my land, from California to Oakland Island. It's geography. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves the grain, for purple mountain majesty across the fields of plain, the fruited plain. It's all geography. Tucker Carlson's not alone. Almost every story, every song is about the geography of America. Not about the men and women who built this country, not about the skyscrapers, not about all the people that took in enough time to actually go in and find a way of making America the greatest it can possibly be. That's what's so important. That's what is an issue. That's what is the problem. We don't understand the fact that capitalism has not really rooted itself in America, but we had hints at it. We had thoughts about it, but America is not completely capitalistic. But what we can do is show how the parts that are capitalistic are thriving, not just surviving or getting along, but flourishing. And that's what's so important about being in this country and knowing what we are doing with it. We know that it is important to understand the facts of what it means to be an American, what it means to be truthful, what it means to have honor, and to go from nothing to something. You start out at McDonald's, sweeping the floors, taking out trash, cleaning the bathroom. Then you're on the fries. Then you're on the cashier. Then you're a supervisor. Then you're a manager. Then you're a franchise owner. That's what can happen in America. I'm sure it can happen in other countries, but especially in America. Especially in the United States of America. That's the beauty of all this. You can go to college. You can study to be whoever you want to be. Get a degree and live a lavish life. because of the work that you put in and everything that you've done and to not only survive, but to thrive. And that's what makes America beautiful. I'd like to thank you for bouncing with me today. Thanks for rolling with me. I appreciate everything you do. Had a few people come in, had a few people leave, and that's all right. I get my Wednesday bumps. Sometimes it's substantial. Sometimes it's not very much so. But I appreciate everyone who tuned in, everyone who took the time to at least watch a few moments of my cast. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much, and happy 4th.